Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hardcore Metal Detecting Radio Show. I'm here on the show with Craig Talley. I'm Derek Asklar. We're going to be hosting a show tonight. Open lines tonight, kind of going with the flow of the last month or so. Just kind of talking about a little bit about everything, and we'll be talking a lot more detecting tonight. Got a little story to start off with, but if you guys want to call in live, you can do it at 352-504-4170. Or if you want to be on chat and talk to the guys on chat, I think Nelson's already on. You can get on to Spreaker.com, go to Hardcore Metal Detecting, and just click on the comment section right there, and you can get on live chat. So, but anyways, Craig, I had an adventure last night. I kind of told you a little bit about it, but got in late last night, probably about, I don't know, 9, 10 o'clock. Anyways, it was after dark, and Pauline drove and I drove, so we pull in the driveway, and I went out to get the gate, and Loki was going crazy, just growling, snarling, and everything else, and he's looking towards the shed. It's probably in some of my videos, but it's right near our front door, probably about 30 feet or so, and we have a shed set up right there, and he's barking at it, growling at it, so I go over there, and I'm just walking over to it, thinking there's something like in the backyard or something wasn't right. And he runs up and gets in front of me and starts like pushing me. I'm like, what the heck are you doing, dog? I'm looking around, and sure enough, about 6 foot away, there's about a 3.5 foot long gator right in the yard. And he's just trying to, he stopped me, and then he starts going after it. And I never seen a 100-pound dog jump in the air so high, but he was going at it, and the gator turned around, and they're so quick when they're small like that. And come around to snap at him, he jumps in the air like a cat would and comes back down and is right back on it again. But I told him to back off, and he backs off about maybe 10 or 15 feet, and he is just watching this thing, wanting just to, protecting me and himself too. It was nice they did that, because I would have walked right on the thing, and you're not expecting to, number one, you couldn't really see it because of the grass, but I could tell something was there. I thought it was a branch or something that fell out of the tree. Because we'd never had a gator on the property, like that. So I went over there and thought about grabbing it, because you got to be careful. The tail is it's not quite as bad as the teeth, but these small gators are so quick. And the bacteria they have in their mouths, I mean, if you get nailed by the thing, I mean, you're probably going to get some kind of an infection anyways. And then I started thinking about, well, I had a packing blanket right there inside the shed door. So I try and keep Loki away from it, and grabbed the packing blanket and threw it over top of it, and then you can grab a hold of him, and I could release him back in the back of the property, across the fence there, and let him go about his business. But those things you don't want to. And I had to tell my neighbor, my next door, he's from New Jersey, and he says, "Well, I'll just grab it. You just grab it like a lizard, don't you?" I said, "No, you got to grab that head. You got to grab that doggone head, and you better make sure you get the tail at the same time." And I usually don't have a problem with doing it. I'm not scared of the things by any means, but I got a healthy respect for how quick they are. And to do it right, with him being on the ground like that, you almost have to drop to your knees and grab him at the same time, and grab the tail, or up around behind the back legs there, and, around the neck or whatever, like you would have, I don't know, a snake or whatever else, just to keep yourself from getting hurt or bit. And, so yeah, and I got him with the blanket, to throwing the blanket over him just keeps him, a little bit mobile, and that packing blanket's thick enough where I don't think he would have got me. But I started thinking about, I got my tennis shoes on, he's going to hit me right in the ankle, or he's going to get Loki. Loki, he's quick. I've had a lot of bulldogs, and so is Pauline, but I couldn't believe how fast he was to get away and charge back. And he never bit it, never tried to bite it. He was just it was like he was trying to get it away, just, like go. And so I had a venture, got my heart rate going a little bit. Pauline couldn't figure out what was going on. I'm yelling at the dog to back off. And when he gets in that protective mode, it's like, he finally did, though. And my hat's off to him, because
it's pretty cool. He was protecting you,
Oh, yeah.
In front of you,
That surprised me.
Dogs are smart.
Yeah. Well,
I hear bulldogs are one of the smarter dogs. They get a bad rap, but
yeah,
I've been around a few of them, and they were some of the nicest dogs I ever saw.
Oh yeah, he's great with kids and everything else. It's just that he knows. I often wondered if he would do that, because I've been kind of halfway trying to, he stays beside me every time I go outside. Every time, he's always there until I tell him to, back off, because he'll be so close to me. I'll turn around and I'll trip on him. So I'm, constantly telling him back off, or whatever. And he finally listened. About that a couple of months ago, he finally back off me a little bit. But yeah, he definitely wanted me to know something was there. But by getting in front of me and backing, he like backed up into me. He was facing the gator and had his back towards me, and he's pushing me back. So yeah, I mean that was great. He did a great job. He got an extra treat last night. So, but yeah, well, just for the people in Florida down here, when you start seeing the smaller gators, and like I said, we don't usually see them on our property because we're pretty high as far as elevation. What's that?
And we're fenced.
Well, we're fenced in too. My wife's right next to me. She's hearing the conversation. But yeah, we're fenced in and everything. But he was able to get through there, obviously. But when you start seeing smaller gators like that, and going across your yard or wherever, it's the start of breeding season is what it is. So y'all be careful. If you live out in the country down here or out in the sticks, just be mindful especially in the evening hours. Just be careful where you're walking out there, because it kind of shocked me. But the next door neighbor, I talked to him this morning, and he caught one on his property. His grandkids are visiting and stuff, and I think you said it was a 4-footer. It's not big enough to kill you, but it will darn sure tear you up fast. But if you don't know what you're doing, don't mess with them. Just call animal control. I think you can even probably call the police too. They'll get somebody, just tell them on the line what it is. But yeah, just keep that in mind when you guys are out hunting or whatever you're doing. Doesn't matter. Going out to the clothesline or something. You just keep an eye out in the morning. So that was my adventure for yesterday, and I didn't get out hunting today. I've been trying to get a hold of the landowner for 2 days, and ended up realizing I had his old cell phone number. It was actually still in his name. Apparently, it's going to voicemail, but anyway, I did get a hold of him today, and I'm hunting there tomorrow morning over at the Toll Bridge property. 7 a.m. I'm supposed to meet him over there, so I'll be enjoying life yesterday, because I was kind of really bummed out today, Craig. You know how much I was wanting to get out there. So, yeah, I hunted a little bit around here. I didn't, it was nothing major, but, it's trying to still work that pasture out behind me, too, where I found those coins and stuff, but they're just so spread out. I haven't found the area where the most activity was, kind of thing. And I can't get close enough to the water. It's like about 30 feet of probably chest-high weeds. And, I'm glad I didn't try to do it the other day, because remember I talked about it on the show. I was going to try to get down towards the water some more, but didn't realize it's kind of feels like gator season come on breeding season came on quicker, but it probably hasn't. I guess, I don't know, Pauline, is it usually July or is it August?
They start doing their little hanky-panky.
Oh, that's what she says. That's when they start doing their hanky-panky is in July, so it's a hanky-panky month. But glad he didn't walk down into that stuff, because that probably would have been bad deal, So what have you been doing? I saw your video up earlier of why don't you tell them about that, because that's some weird weed, grass, whatever it is.
We've been hearing about this weed called hogweed. And it's an ornamental plant, I guess, that was brought from Asia, and it's over in Great Britain, and now it's showing up in Virginia. And some kid got this stuff is like toxic. It's got these hairs with some kind of resin or something on it, and it gets on your skin, and it takes the melanin. It just kills all the melanin. It just wipes it out, and then you get 3-inch. Well, the sun shines on you, photosensitive. And the sun shines on you, you get 3-inch blisters.
Wow.
On your skin.
That's nasty.
And I saw pictures of people that had it on their face. I mean, that was unbelievable. And you can get temporarily blinded or permanently blinded by this stuff. And it grows like up to like 14 feet high, and it got these white flowers on it. So anyway, my friend Mike was out, and he sees this plant growing out of this forsythia bush, and it wasn't there last week. And this thing's like already like it's probably growing about another 2 feet out of the bush. That, we didn't even see it in there.
Right.
And now it's like almost 6 feet high.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed there's a couple more, and there's a couple more on my friend's property along the fence. But we're thinking it's this hogweed. But I got, if anybody knows for sure, I got it up on a couple sites. I got it on Instagram. I'm Bliss Deus on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
But I got a little video and a picture of it. There's another plant that's very similar called cow parsley,
Mm-hmm.
and it has the same kind of leaves. It almost looks like the leaves on a carrot.
Right.
The same kind of, and so it turns out it's part of the carrot family. But,
You don't want to get your carotene from that. Oh, that'd tear you up.
oh man!
So what are you going to
But
do?
it's
Just
got
kill
this,
it off or round up or something like
Yeah,
that?
Mike was talking about just cutting it down, and I'm like, I was thinking, man, I don't know. I think maybe get some Roundup and spray it because
Spray the heck out of that area.
it's a part of the yard that I cut all the stuff out. It was just a jungle in there, all along the fence. The guy had never done anything in there, and that's where I found the breastplate skin and the wreath to the two-piece sash belt buckle.
Right.
But anyway, all of a sudden, weeds are starting to grow up out of that area because it was basically I cut it all the way down to, to the ground, but there was so much stuff growing over the years that, it's going to take a while. I may just go ahead and round up that whole place.
I would say that only, there's two things I wanted to tell you, Craig, and a lot of people may or may not know this, is that, number one, do not use a weed whip to cut that thing with, to stick it in there.
No.
Because that thing will fling little pieces. You don't want to get that on your skin at all. Number two is, like with poison ivy, the roots are bad too. So once you round up that thing, if you can remember where, I dig that whole root up and everything once it's dead. I don't even trust it when it's dead.
Mike was talking about doing that.
Yeah.
But this stuff is, I saw pictures of, people getting with the burns and,
don't piss with that
they
stuff.
had like elephant man hands.
Mm-hmm.
Their hands were so swollen with blisters all over them. I was like, oh my God.
I got into something like
it's serious enough where you got to be hospitalized. It's
right.
like third-degree burns that you get from the sun. Just not even that much exposure.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I had on my a couple of years ago. Well, I guess it's been about 7 years ago. I was up in Indiana, and I think it's sumac, but it may be some other kind of weird poisonous plant or whatever. But I was walking around the end of we had a mobile home up there. And I was going around back for something, and they had this thing growing. It had pretty little berries on it and stuff, or not berries, but like weird shoots on it. Like flowers almost. But they were strange looking, and I turned around, I came back around, and that thing hit me in the side of the neck, and my neck's, Pauline, the size of a corn cob, like somebody hit me with a corn cob in the side of the neck. It was just like that swollen up and everything, and my God, man, that was some bad stuff, and I'm assuming it was sumac, because I guess some people are allergic to that, some people aren't, but I must be. I'm not really allergic, well, I guess I am allergic to poison ivy, but I've got into it so many times when I was a kid that it kind of like I might get one little dot on me, but it doesn't spread. But that sumac, man,
I'm the same way.
It tore me up. I was like, oh my God, I have never gotten into anything like this, and in a long time, anyways. But yeah, you got to watch these plants, man. This green up and weird stuff is growing. It seems like you haven't seen stuff in like several years. Like we used to get this fireweed. You touch the leaves of this thing, it feels like people are sticking fiberglass needles in you. Well, they call it fireweed or green ants, or like we have red ants down here. And
we had this stuff called nettle in the woods, and it's like you're just walking down a trail, and the hairs and stuff. If you got shorts on, and you're just
this stuff will get you in the palm of the
crazy.
hand. This will get you in the palm of the hand, even through the callus. I mean, this stuff, like in between your fingers, it just feels like somebody stuck a bunch of fiberglass between your fingers and stuff. The only way I found to really combat it is I use rubbing alcohol. just double rubbing alcohol on my hand or whatever. But we got this stuff growing like grass. I mean, I'm keeping the lawn mowed to keep it down, but it's like all over the place. I don't know. This year is the worst. We used to see maybe a little spot of it here and there, but it's all over the place. And Loki, bless his heart, he's just not smart. He goes and lays in this stuff because it has pretty little white flowers. So he gets to itching. And, we thought he had fleas. And kind of tried to clean them up and everything. And he's not a flea on them or nothing. And, it just makes them miserable. So we use that oatmeal, stuff on them and this, whatever you can do. But, yeah, fireweed's another one you want to stay away from. And you guys are out there detecting and stuff. A lot of you, in your area, you probably know exactly what poison ivy is and stuff. But just if you see weird plants, that you haven't really seen before, don't mess with them too much because I don't even know what grows in some of these states. So a lot of these states have some weird kind of plants that can, well, like yours, Craig. What do they call that? Is it the stuff that you found? Hogweed or
hogweed.
Hogweed, yeah. It almost sounds like, it doesn't look like it, but we have a dog funnel, which is not really poisonous to anybody, but it's a nuisance weed that can grow 7-8 foot tall in a field, and once it starts growing, I mean, the only way I've found is to keep on mowing and stuff like that, just keep it down, and it dies off. But we bought a property a couple of years ago, and it was like 2 acres of this stuff, and I actually mowed with our mower, and it's like I said, 6 to 7, 8 foot tall sometimes, and all you can see is the stuff going down, and the lawnmower's just chopping. You had to mow it both ways and everything and get rid of it, but. Just be cautious because this stuff, some of the stuff that's coming out, like the venomous caterpillars that started coming out this year down here, like we don't have enough poisonous stuff as it is, those come out, and I haven't seen any up here in Sumter County, but I'm sure they're around. Just be careful with that junk. But but yeah, I'm gonna get out there tomorrow morning and. Hopefully make a couple of good finds. It'd be nice. I've been waiting to get on that property for like 3 weeks now. And just can't ever. It's not like a property where you can just kind of go to. It's all locked up and stuff. The gates are all locked and everything. So, you got to wait for the landowner or the caretaker, whatever, to be around. And I don't know where I got that phone number. I was calling it. Well, it's his original phone number, and he bought another phone and. I got a new phone number with it, so I finally got a hold of him anyways. But now I took the Quest Pro out today, and I didn't do too bad. I found a couple more bullets. But I didn't, man, it's so stinking hot out in the middle of that field, Craig. I don't know. Did it for a little while, probably about an hour or so, and I was done. I was just soaking wet. And I'm like, okay, well, this place I'm hunting tomorrow, most of it, the area I'm going to be hitting is all shaded. So I shouldn't have a problem right by the river right there. Of course, I have to watch for all the critters, but that's about typical down here. Last time, I don't know, did I tell you about the deer? Last time I was over there, Craig? We went in there.
Yeah.
Oh, I did, yeah, the little bitty deer. I mean, little baby, spots and everything. I walked right by it, didn't even see us down this little indentation in the ground, and I walked past him, and the landowner was with me, and that thing jumped up and hauled butt. It was so little, it could have, if I could have got close to it, I could have picked him up and walked with him, but I never did see the mama or anything like that. But he was just tucked away right there in the little bushes. I like wildlife most of the time. I don't like the stuff that tries to eat you up, though.
Yeah.
But I had
got wild plants.
Oh yeah.
I've been going around the yard. We got poison ivy here and there, and
yeah,
I've been hitting that with Roundup. But I've gone through 2 bottles of that.
Yeah.
But some of that stuff, it's got each leaf is as big as my hand.
Yeah.
The poison ivy.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, those things are, even the plants, the hogweed was pretty, the leaves are really like 4 or 5 inches across anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's wild looking, if that's what it is.
Pretty neat.
I'm hoping it's cow parsley, but I'm pretty sure it might be the hogweed, but I don't know. We'll find out. But, I'd never heard of this stuff until this year. I looked at there's quite a few videos of it on YouTube. A lot of them are from Britain.
Yeah.
It was brought over there for ornamental plant from Asia somewhere. And it's a beautiful plant, but
Well, I talked. Mark Hoover just got on here and put up. I think he's talking about the hogweed or whatever it says. He put on here. It's a noxious. I'm assuming it's a noxious plant that can cause blindness, skin irritation. It sent a 17-year-old Virginia man to the hospital with third-degree burns. Alex Childress encountered the giant hogweed while working at a landscape job. He told NBC 12 he originally thought he had a bad sunburn as his skin started to peeling after he arrived home that day. He was later taken to the hospital where he was treated for burns on his face, arms, and officials determined he'd come in contact with hogweed plant. Yeah, so if that happened in Virginia, Craig, so it may very well be hogweed.
Yeah, I mean, I've been hearing about it a little bit, but I hadn't heard about that particular one. But I've been hearing about it for about 2 months that there's this new hogweed stuff. So when Mike went out there, I started looking on YouTube, and I was like, whoa. God.
I got to do a disclaimer on this one. Ohio Relic Hunter says, screw Tide Pods. It's time to do a hogweed challenge. Sorry. Bill, you're a gem, man. You got me laughing. Oh, shoot. Anti-SPF lotion. Anti-SPF, there you go. But yeah, geez. Are not. Barbara says, and chiggers aren't a girl's best friend, LOL. Yeah,
God, chiggers are worse. I mean, those things, I've had them like up and down my legs like I had leprosy or something.
Yeah.
Before. God.
A new survivor.
One friend of mine, he got in bed, didn't know he had all these chiggers. The next morning, his wife was covered with them too.
Oh my God, she probably killed them.
Yeah, they were all in the covers and everything. I
think
like,
that'd be
my God.
Justifiable homicide right there now.
Yeah.
Baby, can I come home with chiggers all over me and then get in bed with you and give them to you?
She didn't like.
All of your
She didn't like him
buddies
going out metal detecting a lot anyway, so that was even worse.
Pauline says, "Yeah, I could get in bed with her, but she wants to know if every one of my buddies will send $100 bond so she can get out of jail for killing me with a." Oh gosh.
Baby,
Yeah.
only once.
Only once, she said. Only once. New survival detecting challenge. Run through a gauntlet of gators followed by crawling through a forest of hogweed. Dang, Mark, you're getting vicious now, brother. That's hardcore. Yeah, those little gators, man. I tell you, they're so quick. Most of y'all probably see them on TV or whatever, just how quick they are. That's what always kind of got me. You just got to be real careful with them. But one guy was asking, can you kill them? I try not to do anything like that. I guess if it was a big one, I probably would never.
No.
I know my wife won't let me anyway.
It is illegal.
Oh, it is illegal even on your property?
Illegal.
Okay. She's reasserting that. Sorry, if it's 24-foot long gator,
It's 24-foot long gator.
we're going to eat good. And I was carrying him over to the fence and said, honey, do you want me to cook some gator tail? She goes, that wouldn't even be enough to feed one person. I said, yeah, probably not. Oh, shoot. But yeah, you can get a permit to hunt gator, down here. That's not a big deal. They have a lottery or something like that, but that, it's legal that way, but I guess you're not, even if it's on your property. Now, I wouldn't say, if it was attacking you, do what you got to do. But other than that, leave it alone or call somebody or whatever. Don't try to grab it yourself unless you've done it before. Bob started knee-high socks treated with... Oh, okay. Bob's using that permethrin, whatever the heck it is, Craig. I can't say it. The stuff you use.
I can't either.
Yeah.
Chrysanthemum. It's crushed up chrysanthemum.
Oh, yeah. But I can't remember. Prementhrin permethrin, whatever.
Give it up.
I know my wife doesn't like me pronouncing things. It sounds horrible. Well, she told me yesterday, you got to really stop butchering people's names. I said, I've butchered people's name. I'd butcher my own name if it wasn't written on the back of my belt, so I could read it.
There ought to be a law that everything has to be spelled phonetically.
Yeah, phonetically spelled. Yeah, spelled. Yeah. Oh, shoot. Let's see here. Oh, I'm just kind of going through chat here, man. They're blowing it up. I can't keep up anymore. All right. Permethrin. Thank you, Mark. He gave me the enunciation on the chat there. Permethrin. Okay. Still can't say it. That's why I don't learn another language, because I butcher English good enough. I don't need to butcher somebody else's language. Shoot. But anyway, yeah, no, I went out with the Quest Pro a little bit. It did real good, Craig, actually. I was pleasantly surprised that I was digging bullets at like, they were about 5 or 6 inches down, but I have to keep the coil off the grass a little bit, or whatever, it's like weeds, but, I can't get the coil closer to like maybe 3 or 4 inches to the ground because of the, swinging it. I can't swing through the thick part of the grass and everything. But, still picked up bullets at like 5 inches down. I thought that was pretty good. And I'm just running I think I was running 75 on the sensitivity, and I think I had the discrimination at 20, 25. It knocks out nails real good. But I didn't really have to run any special settings. It ground balanced right off the bat. I think it was 52 on the ground balance on that machine. It has a screen and everything on it, but it did rather good. I was kind of, the other day I took the bliss tool out, and I was digging some deeper stuff with it, but getting the bullets and stuff. But I was kind of surprised because a lot of times you have to keep a lot of these detectors pretty close to the ground. You get 3 or 4 inches above the ground swinging, you're just losing too much depth. Or I feel anyways. But grabbing bullets 4 or 5 inches down, it's like 8-inch, 9-inch on a bullet. They're just probably they look like, I don't know, maybe from World War II era, maybe a little bit old, a little bit newer than that, but they are quite old anyways. But nothing spectacular today. I'm just hoping I can get into something tomorrow. I think I will around that bridge embankment and stuff, and working my way up and through there. I'm going to try to stay away from directly around the house itself, because they're doing so much construction on it, trying to get it really livable, nice, restored type thing. They built a beautiful chimney on there. I don't know if I put a picture of that up yet, or I'll have to put some pictures up of this place. They actually built a stone chimney. The other one was leaning into the house, like, leaning, like it was going to fall into the house, so they had to take it down, and he rebuilt it. The guy that did it did a fantastic job. It's a beautiful job he did on it. So I'll get some pictures of that, and then we're going to redoing the roof and the interior and everything. So they'll be working on it for a little bit. It's not very big. It's like a cracker house, but I thought it was neat that they were trying to save as much as they could as far as wood, reusing stuff and everything else, trying to keep it period instead of going out and buying brand new lumber and stuff, because the house is quite old. So that was nice to see them doing that. So we got a lot of people on chat tonight. I see a few newer names. Larry Stewart is on tonight. Robert Walgass and Bill Marsh and Mark Hoover and Barbara McConnell, Nathan Shears. Some names here. I think some of you guys have been on before. Bob D's on tonight. Just a whole bunch of people. I'm trying to kind of flip down through here and see. But yeah, if you want to get on chat, it's pretty easy. Just go over to Spreaker.com and go to Hardcore Metal Detecting, click on the comment button, and you can jump on here with these guys. These guys have a ton of experience too, and they'll help you out. If you don't want to call in and ask a question, you can always ask these guys on here, and they're real smart about the stuff too. Once in a while I'll catch it, but we have a hard time keeping up with it a lot of times trying to do the show. We have to get a secretary. That's what we have to get, Craig. Online secretary. She or he can kind of do their thing and get caught up on all the chat. But yeah, I've been trying to. I think tomorrow I'm just gonna run the full size coiled. I may bring the smaller coil. They have a blade coil. It's about 5.5 but 9.5 inch blade coil. They call it double D's, but they call it a blade. and then the standard one I think is 11 and a half. 9 by, I'm just going to say 9 by 11. It's a decent sized coil. It's shaped almost like almost like our elliptical coil in a way. It has that, but it's kind of like a rounder shape to it instead of elongated. But it fits. It seems to do really good though. It's pretty sensitive, and now it does pinpoint right where the lower detecting shaft goes into the coil, where it connects right there. So it's not like the bliss tool where it's at the front or back of the coil. I'm having a little bit of issue trying to get used to that again because I've always been, well, the last 5 years or so I've been using the bliss tool and hitting right at the back of the coil or the front of the coil, and it's gotten used to it, but got fooled like that a couple of times. Started digging in the wrong spot, so that's more my fault than anything else. But yeah, it's pretty comfortable.
If you do the same thing, you go to the tip one.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. So I never went into all metal when I, pinpoint. I just do it to the tip on either, on both, either side. But it's better to do it on the back. It's actually got a little arrow kind of cut into the back of the coil.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just kind of went through. I don't even pinpoint. I just do the cross, the exit off, and I'll dig. Of course I know where it pinpoints. So I mean, it's kind of got fooled a couple of times by digging at the back of the coil. When I should have been digging in the center, but I don't even really use the pinpoint mode too much. I did it a couple times just to see the depth, and this thing actually is really accurate on depth. I haven't had a screen detector that was that close to the actual. Usually some of them are horrible. Some of the models are horrible, but these Quests seem to be within an inch of actual depth. That really surprised me. Because usually, I don't even want to say names, but there's a couple of brands I've used that, pretty much tell you, the 7 inches down, and every time the item's 4 inches. Not that I really go by depth, but it's nice to see that that's pretty accurate. And the VDIs lock on real good. There was only maybe 3 numbers to either side of the actual number, like a penny. I think it rings up as 72, I think. It might go to 75 or back down to 70. But most of the time, we'd click right on 72, and I dug a penny here in the yard when I was horsing around. Actually I must have hit it with a lawnmower sometime or another, but it was about 8 inches down, 8 inches down, and it was reading, 7. So that's not too bad at all. Just horsing around with it. But there's a lot of neat little bells and whistles on this thing that actually benefit the user. You can notch out stuff, but you can also knock out the sound on certain items. I think it runs 4-tone instead of 6-tone like the Quest 40. I only like to really use, Craig, 3-tone. I don't really go into the full tones at all. I just mark it, just whatever sounds good. As long as it's not iron, that's all I care about, really. But I can make it so it goes off on iron, too, so I just got a low grunt, and everything else is like I can make it high tone or a mid tone or whatever. The only time I ever really used it is when I got into just like pull tabs and stuff like that. I can kind of set it up so that I can just give those a sound, like certain numbers, so that I know, okay, it's probably going to be aluminum. I'll dig it anyways. So it is pretty versatile. I'm actually kind of growing pretty fond of it, being able to fold them up. They slide together like 22, I think it's 26 inches, something like that. They fold up to that.
Yeah.
I could put all 3 of them on my front seat, the passenger seat in my truck, and whatever, go someplace and just grab them out of there instead of having to, set them in the back or whatever else, trying to get them into the vehicle. And it only takes me about, 20 seconds or so to, adjust it the way I want it. And the way they have the coil, I guess you'd call it, the Velcro piece, it actually goes through the coil wire. So it hangs there. You don't lose it when you pull, when you're trying to get the coil cable to stay, spun around the shaft right there. It hangs on it. So you can just whip it around there and Velcro it. And that way when you're putting it away, you don't have to worry about the little strap, losing it. It's right there. And it stays on the coil cable. So that works out pretty nice too. So yeah, all in all, pretty good day. I'm gonna use it tomorrow. I'm not even gonna take the Bliss tool. I'm just gonna take the Quest Pro out there and see what I do. I might take the Quest 40 with the smaller coil on it, and just do an initial hunt with that to see what I'm going to be digging. So I'm hoping that's going to, at least I'll hopefully get a couple things. Anyways, I know I will, but I mean, I'd like to get a large scent. That's really what I'm after. Down here in Florida, I've never found one down here, so this place is about one of the better places as far as age goes, to maybe get one of those, and maybe even some, maybe a Civil War bullet or something like that would be real nice. Maybe some round balls and stuff like that from the Seminole Indian War, that era. So, that's pretty much what I'm planning tomorrow. I told her I'll be gone before she wakes up out of bed, and I'll be out of here. So, and then she got mad because I wasn't taking her with me, but she has to go do some stuff at the post tomorrow, so she's going to hang out. I don't think her sinuses will let her do that. She's having a devil of a time with her sinuses and stuff, allergies. I think everybody is, at least in our area, they are, bunches of people. This stuff hangs on for well, with you, it's what, 3 months, 2 months? 3 months, 3 months.
We got all kinds of different, every couple of weeks, some new flowers and new trees are blooming and stuff. It's been happening for a couple of months now.
She's been, been to the doctor 3 times already, and we keep on thinking it's going into bronchitis or pneumonia or whatever else. And nope, no viruses, no flu. You have allergies. And the way this thing's kicking her butt, I don't want the allergy. Well, I got the same allergies as she does, but it doesn't hit me quite as hard. But there's like about 7 people we know that are going through this right now, and it's just not letting up. It just, just stays steady. But,
Yeah, I had, early in the spring, I had, sneezing all the time. And then now it's like my eyes are watering all the time. I don't have any sneezes.
Yep.
But,
oh, you still there, Craig?
yeah, I'm here.
Oh, I thought you got cut off. Okay. No, yeah, sneezing, coughing, eyes water, and getting matted shut, all kinds of crazy stuff. And I don't know. I think it's just this year's been just strange all the way around as far as that kind of stuff goes. It's not. I guess it's everywhere though, because I've seen a couple more posts on here about that. But yeah, I'm gonna hit that tomorrow. So hopefully I'll have at least some photos to put up tomorrow afternoon. It's been a while since I've really been out, for several hours anyways. Lately, just hunting that field, man, it just gets miserable out there. I'm sure, Craig, how humid is it up there? Is it still as humid as it was, or is it?
It's not that bad.
Good,
it's
good.
Not anything like Alexandria was. We're in the, kind of the foothills of the mountains, so it's much, less humidity, but it's still, hot out there. But it's funny, once the sun goes down, it just, man, it's nice out. It's still warm, but there's no humidity at all in the air. It's just much nicer. It's like I was talking to the guy next door that does the grass, and it was pretty funny. We talked for about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
I guess he's about 72 years old, and he lives up in Leeds, West Virginia, which is very close here. And I'm kind of about maybe 10 or 15 miles from the border of West Virginia.
Yeah.
North of us. But anyway, he was laughing. He goes, yeah, I saw you guys metal detecting, last year, and he goes, I told this friend of mine, I said, man, they dug up 2 big old cans of gold coins. And he's like, what? So he was going, hey, what'd you guys find? So I was telling him, some of the stuff, and he knew, a fair amount of history, but not like, I've already learned about this area.
Right.
I was telling him some stuff about the house, and he was talking about seeing ghosts and stuff, and I said, I've always wanted to see one, but then I said, then when you see one, you might not want it after you do.
Right.
I wish you didn't. I don't know. But I said they had a psychic in the house next door to us, according to the people that own it. And the lady, as soon as she walked in, right next to the hearth, she saw a man tip his hat toward her. Mm-hmm. And she described the guy, and it's the woman's father. She thinks the way that she described it.
Yeah. Jeez.
But that's pretty scary. And then I guess the great grandmother, she was throwing embers out from a fire when she was 84 years old in 1922, and the wind blew the embers on her and caught her on fire, and she died several hours later.
Oh my gosh.
But that happened right in the front yard there.
That's crazy.
Next to my fence, yeah. And they got a big marker there, a big granite slab with the information on it right there in the front yard.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Oh, I got a message from Mike Power that does all metal mode.
Yeah.
And he wants me to be on the show in about 3 weeks.
Oh, cool, man.
Blissful and some other things.
Yeah, they have a good show.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Oh, yeah,
So,
definitely.
I listened to one show a while back with it had Tim Glick on it, a buddy from Ohio. So I guess he's been doing the show. He's been doing it about a year or so now.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I think they came
So,
yeah, all right.
Yeah, he's on Mondays.
Yeah, he's before Relic Roundup, right? Or American,
so.
yeah, American Digger Magazine, whatever. I shoot, my brain's not working good, but yeah, I think they're on Monday night at 7 p.m. I have to look again to make sure, but you guys can check it out. Yeah, they put on a good show. I see Relic's radio's on tonight. How you doing? He's dealing with sinuses too. Somebody said to go ahead and snort some hogweed. It'll clean your sinuses out. Don't do it, man. Don't do it.
Man, I've started something here, man. I'm not talking about that stuff. So, anybody want any hogweed, I'll bag it up for you.
Yeah, there.
Some.
Yeah, do that with gloves, Craig. Do it with gloves. Very hygienic on that stuff. Oh, shoot.
If there's somebody you don't like, you put it in your salad, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Oh, jeez. Yeah, being on the show, I mean, they have a pretty good show. I mean, I think you'll have fun on there. I think you've been on a couple, 3 or 4 different shows, haven't you? Beyond Sight and Sound. I know you were on Josh's show, and then Detecting Lifestyle when it was up and running.
Yeah, I was on that. I was on
several times, anyway.
I think I was on the demo show, and then I was on several of the earlier shows, and then later on I was Tim Glick and I did a show on there on Detecting Lifestyle, and then we did one on Josh's show, Beyond Sight and Sound.
How's Tim doing anyway? I haven't talked to Tim in a while. Is he doing all right?
Actually, he's doing great.
Good.
He's had, he had another stroke, which was, I think, his 3rd one.
Oh my God.
And he's pretty much recovered from it.
Good.
And he just went for a heart check, and he was kind of, worried about that, but he came up 100%, for his age and everything. So he's been taking care of himself, better. And he's, got a better frame of mind and everything. And his health, of course, when when your health isn't very good,
it's hard to keep
going,
yeah.
But he metal detects all the time, and he's gotten into some. I talked to him a while back for a couple hours, and he got onto this farm, I guess, that had burned down or something, and he started finding all kinds of gold jewelry, and he found I think he found a gold love token and a gold, out of a gold coin, and then another gold coin that was I think it was made into some kind of brooch or something.
Yeah.
And so I was telling him, I said, I bet you got beat up on that. And he goes, oh my God, all these people are claiming I've planted this stuff and everything.
Oh yeah, Jesus.
But what it was the lady had a jewelry box, and all this stuff was in the jewelry box.
Yeah.
And when the house burned down, all this stuff was lost.
Yeah.
And and over 25 years, all this stuff had spread all over the place, because I think it was part of a farm field or a garden.
Probably,
or
yeah. Tim runs into that a lot,
And
anyways. Stuff spread out like that, jewelry and coins and stuff that might have been in a house.
then he found
Good.
he was on the search for this diamond ring that somebody had lost a long time ago in the side yard or something. And he said there was so much junk in the yard, iron and all kinds of stuff. And he ended up finding it. And I mean, it had a whopping big old, diamond in this thing. But he was able to give it back to the people that lost it. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's definitely. Yeah, I got a chance to hunt with Tim in 2015. I'd hunted, Craig, 3 or 4 days with him or something in around where he lives at different sites and stuff. And he has some producing sites. That's where I found that kilt that I'm going to call it a tomahawk, but it's a kilt, whatever. I found that in one of the fields. And found some, like a broken ring and a watch, part of a watch and stuff at an old school site. But yeah, he's a good hunter. We had a lot of fun out there. I hadn't talked to him. You lose touch with people. I mean, we still see him on Facebook and stuff like that. But I got the all metal mode is on at 8 p.m. Eastern time on Monday nights, guys. I think it's Sevens just told me that on here. I think that's Sevens. That's on under Relic Radio. So yeah, check it out. And if you haven't listened to it already, there's I think there's 5 different shows on now, maybe 6 during the week on Spreaker that deal with metal detecting and stuff. I'm sure there's more. Just they're not doing regular shows or whatever. We also have now I'm going to forget the doggone name. Global Adventures. They're on too. Every 2 weeks I think they put up a show. Maybe they're doing it sooner, but they also have.
I thought they did it once a month. Maybe.
Oh, maybe
used to do it just once a month. I think.
Oh, okay, yeah, because they have to when they do their show because everybody lives in different places around the world. They have to. One guy lives in Germany, one lives in the U.S., UK. They pre-record their show because they have to get everything together and post it up like that just to make it a little bit easier on them because it gets kind of, weird when you have people, 6 and 7 hours apart on time to got to get a show together. But yeah, they put on a good show too. Matter of fact, I think they were one of the first people on Spreaker that dealt with metal detecting, and I think we came over, and then Butch and Butch Holcomb, and then Heath Jones started up one on Tuesday night, History Seekers on Tuesday nights, and then Beyond Sight and Sounds on Wednesday nights, and Thursday nights is us and Relics Radio. So there's plenty of choices around there. We all do different formats anyways, so it's all good. Just gives you more information or more fun to have. You can download all the shows and everything. It's mostly for the newer people that are listening in. You can download any one of these shows and put it on your smartphone or on your computer, whatever, listen to it later. So it's pretty versatile. Podcast radio is really blowing up big time. Craig and I talk about it every once in a while, but heck, if you don't like metal detecting, which you probably wouldn't be listening anyways, but if you don't like metal detecting, they have a lot of other different topics on there too. Just about probably anything you want to talk about, really. News, sports, all that stuff.
I've been doing these Nielsen rating things, and they used to do it over the land phones, ask people, and nobody has land phones anymore. So now they're doing it through the mail, and they actually called me and asked me if I wanted to, participate in so I was telling them about how we had a, radio show and a podcast, and
yeah.
So she said those count as radio stations nowadays, and I said, really? And I said, well, I know it's pretty big, and she goes, it is. She said it's booming.
Oh, that's cool.
She said it's amazing. It's becoming bigger than almost the regular radio. And I was listening to I think it's called DC 101. It's kind of contemporary music,
right?
Kind of like rock pop. I don't know. It's kind of different from what I used to listen to, but they do everything from Spotify. They can't even afford to use pay the revenue on the songs.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's crazy, and I've often wondered about that too. Some, the content and stuff, and I think people in the podcast world, whatever, they understand. I mean, we just, if you hear about something, you talk about it, until you find out there's some different information or whatever, and then you kind of, correct yourself as you go along, because you're at the mercy of what is posted up there, which we've kind of learned the hard way with, talking about that whole deal with the search for the treasure of the unbelievable, or whatever, the wreck of the unbelievable, that whole fiasco.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you just don't know. You only can give the information you're reading. Then, we try to do the best job we can to read, put up our stance or whatever on whatever topic, good or bad. If we find out more information about it. But there's so much, Craig, there's so much garbage out there too. You don't know. That's what first thing I said when well, I was going to say Jeff let me know that, it was a fake, that there was a new report out in January, and I'd watched it in November. So we, he was nice enough to send it to him. I'm glad he did, because, it's like I started doing research myself to make sure that wasn't the only site that had it. You know what I mean? I wanted to, make sure we were giving out the right information, which we were, now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you just, there's
I
fake
Googled
news
it,
and fake
the whole
this.
Page of it, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you just deal with it in every aspect of life now, it seems like. Not only news, it's just, these, I don't know what people think sometimes. They try to make a quick dollar, and at the cost of their credibility. I just never could understand that very much, but it'll work out however it decides to.
If they would
But
start
now they got
cutting the
fake
tongues of
documentaries
all these
called
liars,
mockumentaries.
Hang on.
the world would be a much quieter place.
Oh, hang on a second, Craig. Go ahead and say it, Paulie. Maybe they can hear you.
I said, if they would start cutting the tongues out of all these liars, the world would be a much quieter place.
Honey, you're not allowed to cut people's tongues out. No.
I didn't say cut the fucking tongue.
Oh, excuse me. Jeez. She didn't. Frickin'. That's what she said. You can tell my wife hates liars. So. Oh, my goodness. Got a little bit R-rated there for a minute. But
Leave me alone. Let me say what I mean to say.
Oh, you threw me for a loop, girl. Anyway, no, it gets so frustrating.
You don't know who to believe.
Yeah, you don't know who to believe. I mean, unless it's one of you guys, or, you know what I mean, Craig? If I hear it from you, I mean, obviously I'm going to believe it until we find out different, but the way it just seems like every time you turn on TV, it's something kind of news, and they always speculate so much. The stuff happens, news happens one way. I mean, whatever, car crash, whatever, it happened this way. Don't spin it 50 ways. What could have happened if this happened and that happened. Pretty soon you forget about what really did happen. So, yeah, it gets confusing after a while. It annoys us. That's why we don't really watch the news very often. Unless you send it to me, Craig. You say, watch this. I'll put it on there. So, kind of crazy.
It's like, I think there's one station that says the news you can trust.
Yeah, I don't trust any of them. Don't trust them.
Oh, man. Well, they just come out with one called fake news, then they'd be true.
Yeah. Well, Sevens has it right. Has it right about the shows. The documentary. I mean, it had us all fooled. You just.
Yeah.
I guess I just keyed on. I wasn't expecting it. You weren't looking for it to be a fake. Like you would normally in a video of say somebody said, I found a Foot Locker full of gold. Gold bars or something. You're watching that video pretty close to see. You're looking for it to be a fake in a way, but a documentary, I guess my brain wasn't even in that mode. It was just so amazing the story as it unfolded.
Yeah,
I guess
you were just caught up in the story. It was
yeah,
a great story. I mean,
well, how many?
And it's so disappointing. It wasn't true.
Yeah.
God, it just pisses me off. You
know? I know Craig would. I can't put up and say what Craig put on his email. I think Craig was madder than me, and usually I get pretty ticked off about that kind of stuff. I was mad. Don't get me wrong.
Oh man, I
was
was
disappointed
like,
more
what
than anything else.
The heck is going on?
Yeah.
A fake treasure hunt. Who ever heard of something like that?
Yeah, well, you just don't hear about very many actual big treasure kind of items being found so much. It still happens, but it's a more of a rarity, maybe once a year, twice a year tops. and something on that level was totally, that was like, the fellow over there that found the Celtic treasure over there, the 2 point something $million worth of gold items in the middle of a farmer's field. Those kind of stories just,
Yeah.
it's the adventure of it that, for lack of a better term, the Indiana Jones syndrome. You're watching this thing play out, and, it's very, I don't know, disheartening when if I went into it thinking, knowing it was a story or it was a fable, whatever, I would still watch it. I still think it was a very well produced show. And now that I know this, it was even better because he fooled us all. All that, when I should have known better when they were pulling those big gold items out of the water. You just don't lift those up. You got to, they were pulling them up from the bottom. They would have had to have some kind of flotation or something on them, especially that big, I don't know, 20-foot tall statue. If it was made out of, granite or something, you're not going to just pull that up by one of the necks of this dragon like they did. It would have had to have been, airbags, the whole 9 yards to be able to get that up out of the water. It just broke, I'm sure. But yeah, I mean, hey, he fooled us. Hope it works out for him. So, Relic Sevens is saying we watch the Oak Island every season, and they ain't found nothing yet. Yeah, LOL. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you on that. I kind of got bored with that in a way.
I've been done with that for a couple of years
Yeah,
because
me
they're
too.
milking this thing. And I said, they're going to be up to year 3,000 with his grandson doing it, and still be looking for the treasure,
Yeah.
still be, putting up videos. I don't know.
I've often thought that is it really even at that spot? I mean, I know that's where the folklore to it or the story goes from it, but have they even really looked at the rest of the island to see where there may have been an encampment or, I mean, you know what I mean? They're not finding it. It took a while to build. Oh, they have found stuff like that. Spanish or something.
Well, there's been a lot of people there over the years, and
right.
They even showed this type of tree that it was in some old pictures of the island, and it turns out this tree originates in Africa.
Right.
It's not native to that area or North America, and there's some real anomalies. They find weird stuff on the beach, but then again, you wonder if it's planted or not.
Right.
Because of what's this whole thing. I mean, it's there's a lot. I guess there's been quite a few people that died too.
Oh yeah, there's been a lot. Yeah.
It's either something really going to be found, or I don't know. It's just
I don't think
it
it's
seems
there.
to be that they're milking this thing along. It's kind of like the pyramids and all this Egyptianology. They won't really go in there. They want to save it so down 1,000 years from now the Egyptianologists will still have something to do. Have a job.
Yeah.
Or something.
Well, what I meant is, when
I want to know right now what's going on.
Yeah.
It's like I want to see these guys on the moon and the Mars tomorrow.
Yeah, no doubt. I did watch a YouTube video of all things, and it may have been published somewhere else about Oak Island. What this person's theory was on why they were finding lumber or whatever, those big beams and stuff like that in that hole in the past. And I want to say it was I had to look that up. I don't even know if it's still on YouTube or not, but he was talking essentially like a Viking ship, the real long ship there, actually went into that thing nose first and sank into that thing, and because of how wide the hole is or something like that. He was showing it by levels why they were finding certain things at certain depth, and the wood items and stuff like that. He had a different kind of theory, but I was often wondered, it took a while to dig that, number one, and put these so-called traps in and all this stuff. There had to have been somebody staying there, or a group of people, obviously, to make that hole. I mean, Is there any kind of, from that era, is there any kind of stuff they're finding from that era? And, like Mark said, it's probably already been found at one time or another. I mean, back before we even really started looking at it hard.
This stuff has been looked at back in the 1800s, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a while, I know.
Yeah, it's I had a friend that he worked for Strange Magazine. He was an editor,
Yeah.
and he used to go out and investigate crop circles and ghost hauntings and stuff. And
Right.
I said, you know, how come these people believe this stuff, you know? And he said, because they want it to be true.
Right. Right.
But you know, some of this crop circle stuff looks like it. Some of it might be true, but you still got to wonder about that. But
well, Sevens is saying they tried to get Gary Drayton on to be on the Relic
Yeah.
Radio, and you know he can't because of the show. They're under contract and stuff, and I'm sure they can't just go on to another anything like that. I mean, that's just the politics of doing a TV show and everything. I'm sure, but it'd be kind of neat to hear from him. Actually, you know, some of this stuff gets pretty wicked, Craig. I mean, people get that greed. Not this show, but I mean, I know people that have done wanted to do shows or something, treasure show. People get vicious, man. I mean, this guy had death threats and everything else on him.
I've
I'm
seen
like,
guys that get into sites that aren't even that, you know, nothing like this kind of treasure these guys are doing.
Right,
They
right.
get like that.
yeah,
It's
nuts.
just part of the hobby sometimes. Some people
Yeah.
just, you know, they lose it. You know, it's like, I talk to all these guys in Britain, you know, and they find stuff that makes our stuff look like, you know, nothing, you know.
Right, right.
All these hammered coins and gold and Roman and, you know, Saxon, and, you know, it's crazy over there. And, you know, people, it's vicious over there
Yeah.
on some of these sites. I mean, these guys, you know, they find people, you know, people are night hawking all the time. They've been doing it for 30 years. And I mean, it's just, you know.
That's a lot of reason I don't, and I've told, I said this on the radio before, I find stuff that I don't ever talk about because of some of this reasons. I just don't want the flack. I don't want the naysayers and everything. It would just tick me off too bad. And, sometimes you just got to make that decision for yourself, and depending on what you found and everything else, and, if it is something, I would always say if it's something that is historically, it's a big find or something like that, you probably should get in contact with some kind of historical society, something like that. I mean, somebody that's in the know. If it's something, you'll know if it's something special. You'll start getting that feeling, hey, this is a lot bigger than me. And that's the time you should bring somebody else into that circle that knows what the rules are, and that way they could save the history right. But these,
They'll know when you hit it big because that'll be the first live show from a private island in Aruba.
Oh, there you go. She said, you'll know when I find something really good. It'll be a private show from an island in Aruba or something like that. But, you get kind of, I've seen, I've had a couple of my friends get really hammered. Well, yours too, Craig. I mean, over items they found that they didn't even know was planted. A buddy plants them, horsing around. We all joke around with each other, and that led into, people threatening them, emails. Just crazy response to a situation that could have been, eliminated. Even the friend was involved and never told his buddy that he did it. He just let him think that he had found a really old coin and this and that. And pretty soon, our friend is getting railroaded by people big time. And I think we finally got it cleared up. But yeah, it upsets you, number one. And especially when you know the guy. I know the guy that, that did this. He's a straight up guy. He's not going to sit there and lie about it. He finds enough cool stuff as it is. He doesn't have to sit there and plant a foreign coin in the ground, for crying out loud. It was just a joke gone bad, so to speak. But you got to make that decision. And it's pretty much left up to the individual, Craig. I guess if you do make a really nice find and you want to put it up there, just be careful of how you do it. Not that it happens all the time, but you don't want to be pestered. And I've always, we deal with haters once in a while. It's not really as bad as it is for some people. We get the rogue stalker, the rogue whatever, every once in a while. Or what do they call them? Haters or trolls, I guess you could call them. Every once in a while we'll get one out here on the show or something like that. But, I ain't worried about it. I mean, if you can make it on my property, go ahead. You could deal with the psychopath dog I have, right?
Yeah, when I was president of a club years ago, the people would, I used to find a lot of good stuff, and we'd all bring our finds in every month, to show, and people would go, "Oh my God, where'd you find that?" And I go, "Oh, in the Mid Atlantic area."
Yep. Somewhere in Florida, somewhere in Virginia.
Somewhere in this tri-state area.
Yeah.
But, people would, God, I've had people follow me.
Oh, yeah. I've had that happen, too.
And the guy comes up, and I pull up to the site, and the guy, all of a sudden I look over and I see this guy, that's been pestering me. And I didn't particularly like the guy anyway, but he comes out there and says, is it okay to hunt? And this other friend of mine was there, and he knew it was a rectory, old Catholic rectory, and right on top of a New York camp. And we found, all kinds of stuff there. I found a belt buckle and a breastplate back to back in 15 minutes one time there. And I actually found another breastplate early on. I found a Virginia button there. But he tried to get the guy kicked out. He told the priest, that guy's not very good. Don't tell him you can't hunt. And the guy goes, "Oh no, I'm going to do that."
I actually had that happen to me too. The same kind of thing. Not that thing, but the same kind of thing. Some people.
But anyway, the guy. There was this old cedar tree that was like in the middle of this yard right in front of where they knocked the house down, and so I come over there, hunting, and I see two wide open holes, and I see the guys walking away from them, and so I said, "Oh man." Even though it's going to be a construction site, I just don't like, I'm not leaving an open hole.
No, I never do.
Never.
It
just doesn't look good, and so, I mean, here's big plug and then a whole pile of dirt sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
So the crazy thing is, the first signal, I go over the first hole just to check it, and I had a White's Eagle Spectrum, and the meter hits like 86, I think, or something. And I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. So I dig down, and the guy had gone down about 6 inches, and I went down another maybe 2 or 3 inches and pulled out I think it was a 1895 quarter.
Oh, that's cool find.
Barber quarter.
Huh?
And I'm like, man, and I kind of looking over the guy going, man, why didn't he, he had the same machine I did. And I'm like, why didn't he dig that?
Yeah.
And so next signal I get is like a mid-tone in the other hole, and I go down about 9 inches, and it's a giant dandy button. and I was like, God, this guy's like, and he was telling everybody, he found a Script New York belt buckle that was, probably $1,000 buckle, and he found it an inch deep on this one site. And next thing you know, he's the best metal detectorist anybody's ever seen.
Yeah, like, legend in his own mind.
Yeah, no.
Hey, we all go out and find stuff. Sometimes you're a lucky day and you get a bunch of good stuff. Other days you don't find nothing.
You know what I've always said? I'd rather be lucky than good.
Yeah,
I know I'm pretty good, but I'd rather be lucky.
Yeah, that's what I'm working on now. I know I'm good. I just want to be lucky and find this stuff, because if you don't get your coil over it, by God, you're not going to find it. That's for sure. But yeah, I've had people. I mean, it turned out to be, believe it or not, a next door neighbor, a roommate of the next door neighbor. A buddy of mine called me. He said, "Man, somebody was on the property, left a bunch of open holes and everything, and he took off in a white pickup truck with a toolbox on it, like a Ford Ranger." I'm like, really? And I'm sitting on my front porch and I'm looking over at a Ford Ranger with a toolbox on it. And about that time, the guy comes out and pulls out I think it's a bounty hunter or whatever, out of the back of his pickup truck, out of the bed of the truck. And I'm like, Oh my God, dude, it's him. And I went over and confronted him. I said, "Hey, were you just over here on Highway 50?" And he, well, yeah. I said, "Do you have permission to hunt that property over there?" He goes, "Oh no, I just jumped the fence." I mean, we're at on Highway 50 is a pretty busy road during the day. It's a 2-lane road, but it's pretty busy. I'm like, dude, that's my permission. And I've been hunting there for a while. You left a bunch of open holes. Oh, I didn't think anybody would care. I'm like, I just,
Cow pasture.
it's there's a house there. I mean, come on, give me a break. So we almost
people
lost
like
permission.
That always
Yeah.
they always have an excuse for leaving
Yeah.
holes open, and stuff. And I go, there isn't any excuse.
No, there isn't. Not
You
that. I mean, not. I mean, in a field, I don't even leave them open in the field. I kick the dirt back into them. But I have places where I hunt at. The guy says, "Hey, as long as you throw the
I've been on
dirt in there, you don't have to worry about it."
Sites where there's no grass or anything, and it's all lumpy and stuff.
Yep.
I won't even leave a hole there. I'll kick
Yep.
the dirt in and smooth it over.
Yep.
I've always done that.
Yeah, even on the beach. Even on the beach, I do it. It's etiquette. That's just the right way. Somebody twists an ankle and breaks an ankle in a hole that you dug or anybody else dug, really. I had it happen in Webster, Florida. I had, permission to hunt. Or I was hunting, and it's where the old railroad track used to be, and it's now like a median. But we were finding all those train seals from the Orange Belt Railway and everything, all this railroad stuff. And a cop came by and run us off for the most part. Said, "Well, you'll have to get permission from city council." I said, "Why are they being, we're not hurting nothing. We're filling everything in. You can't even tell where we dug at." And he says, "Oh, we just had somebody break an ankle over at the park over there. Now we're not letting any metal detectors in the park because somebody left an open hole and the lady was walking, is right by the parking area, broke her ankle. And it's a lawsuit waiting to happen." So, yeah, I mean, they get real particular. Even on the beach, man, I fill in my holes. I'll kick the sand back in. It just takes 2 seconds, But I've been on the beach where me and Mike went out there, man, there was open holes everywhere. And it's different on the water line because, of course, the high tide's going to fill it in and everything. But when you're in that damp sand, and these people are jogging it at night and stuff and walking on the beach at night, So why, somebody falls and hurts themselves or whatever else. I mean, I didn't want any flack from it, so we just always fill them in. It's good etiquette, anyways. But yeah, it drives me crazy, especially at the hunt. And we went to one hunt, and I can't remember which one it was now. It's a couple of years ago, but they had to. There was like 8 guys that had to go through and walk the fields to fill in holes. Now, I want to say it was a DIV, but I don't think it was a DIV. I think it was one of the other ones we went to. But they left a bunch of open holes and everything else at a hunt with about 150 hunters, 200 hunters. And that's kind of crazy, but I don't know. It just takes a couple seconds to flip it in.
I've seen some horrible stuff, over relic hunting over the years, especially in sites, really, pounded sites. Some of these guys, they'll dig dig out hut sites and big pile of dirt, 4 feet high. The hole is 16 feet long and, maybe 4 or 5 feet, wide, 2 to 4 feet deep, and the whole hillside's like that. They went through and dug every single hut site out and, got the bottles, everything out. It's like, the funny thing though is sometimes I'd go through those areas and check the dirt, and they'd leave all kinds of small stuff. Like I used to dig this one area. I always dug like a New York cuff button, kind of a small button. They were just sloppy guys. They just, they were just looking for the easy stuff,
Right.
I'd always find stuff in the dirt piles that they left. But a lot of times, if they weren't too big, I'd kick all the dirt back in and stuff. But,
well, I've had it happen down here with arrowhead hunters on a friend of mine's property. I went out there and they just got the property. Everything's one me and Mike and Mark went to, and that's the reason he run the guy off. He was digging for arrowheads, and he'd leave a 3 foot by 3 foot hole about 2 to 4 feet deep, and then just move on to the next hole and just left that one open on my buddy's property. And man, that kind of thing, you could be walking through there and fall into that, and heck, nobody's going to know you're there. I mean, it's out in the middle of nowhere unless my buddy was home and hear you yelling. So it happens in a lot of the hobbies, but even now you're dealing with essentially a pile of shards and everything else. I mean, just kick them back into the hole. I never could figure that out, but you got run off the property. I got permission to hunt there, but I also fill everything in too. But You know, you can lose a permission for everybody real quick by that. And Barb's, I think Barb's on here saying, I think she was at the DIV, and they think they don't have to fill in the holes in the woods, but you know, just respect. It's a respect thing for the property owner and property, you know, the property itself. But Bill's on here. Bill Marshall saying a guy I hunt with went to the park one morning, saw 50 plus hole open plugs, spent over an hour filling them in, so he didn't get blamed for it. Called the city manager to let him know what happened. Turns out it was the city that was that did it. Wait a minute. That it was the city that did it to paint some flowers, plant some flowers, whatever. They weren't happy. Well, good job, Bill. You filled in all the holes, though, or his buddy did. They were trying to plant plants, and he just went back through and filled them all in. But yeah, you're just trying to be safe about it. Yeah. No. Oh, wait a minute here. Gulf Shores. That's. I'm trying to think of where that. Oh, well, Sevens was saying I was on Gulf Shores last week, and they have a new regulation: no metal shovels or tools. I know this is probably came about because people were leaving open holes on beaches. Yeah, Gulf Shores. That's down by St. Pete, isn't it? I think. So, whatever. Anyways, yeah, that's not a good sign. I'm sure Mike's not real happy about that. There's some places I know that you can only hunt with a probe, Craig. You know, like it's not in Florida, but yeah, hunt a park or whatever. You could pop coins. That's it, or use a probe to pop the coins out or the items out. But you couldn't carry any shovels in there at all. Not even your the small shovels. You had to be able to pop the coins. That's a whole another realm where you have to have some skill to do that. I've done it before. You're just using a probe, or it's like a long screwdriver for the most part. You can hook the end on it, or I think White sells. I'm sure they sell probes and stuff, but you can make one yourself pretty easy. And you get a signal, and you'll poke the ground, see if you can tap on it, or get down to it. And there's a way to kind of split the ground a little bit right there and pop it out. That's the only way you can metal detect in certain areas. I think it was up in. God, I want to say it was in Pennsylvania for some reason. There was some part of Pennsylvania. That a buddy of mine was hunting. I went up there, but yeah, it's. I'm sorry, guys. I was trying to read chat at the same time. Gulf Shores, Alabama. I knew I'd been there before. I was in Gulf Shores. Remember, that's where I found that colonial ship nail, Craig. That's been 2015. I knew the name sounded familiar. I just thought it was down in Florida for some reason. But yeah, Gulf Shores, Alabama. But yeah, that's where I found a ship nail. The copper or bronze ship nail and a few other items right through there at a KOA campgrounds of all things. But it was down by the water, right at the water edge. But yeah, it's just they'll keep us out of there. I mean, we've had it, almost happened down here with somebody just mouthing off to the wrong person, getting all upset and everything. And Mike and Tom Jones from Suncoast Research and Recovery Club had to go and pretty much beg for forgiveness for the guy. And they were going to put they were going to try to make it so you'd had to have a permit to metal detect the beaches, but it would be every city. So like Clearwater, St. Pete, Indian Rocks, whatever. If you wanted to hunt those beaches, you had to have a permit for each one, and it would have been $100 a permit. So they were able to get them, calm down enough and not make them do that if they were going to do a permitting system, to be all over Florida rather than just in one spot. But that all came about because of one individual that mouthed off to enough of the hotel owners or managers and stuff like that, and the cops and everything, that they just had enough and were going to attack all of us. So I'm glad they didn't follow through with that. At least they haven't yet. So yeah, you can definitely cause a bunch of world of hurt. Sometimes it's better to keep your mouth shut, Craig. Not just okay. I have a nice day. I'm sorry if I bothered you or whatever. And sometimes it's just better to do that, even if you do have permission. I know that I think it was Tommy Decker. He's with Detecting Chicago and Beyond. He has a Facebook page, and he does a lot of curbsides, between the road and the sidewalk. And he finds a lot of cool stuff, and that's what he said. If they start giving me a hard time, I know I'm allowed to do this and everything, but sometimes it's just better to leave and come back another day or whatever, go to another spot, just so you don't have to deal with cops and however the situation kind of get it inflamed a little bit. So sometimes you
Yeah,
just,
I had permit to do Arlington County parks, and one of the strategies I used to do is I'd get in the very back of the park, start there. I wouldn't
Right.
get up near the road or anywhere anybody could really see me at first, even though I had a permit.
right, right.
And a lot of times I got, if I was close to the road, somebody would confront me or ask if I had a permit, or all of a sudden a park ranger would show up.
Mhm.
And it happened probably 5 or 6 times, but as soon as I showed them the permit, everything was fine. But I always tell, somebody said, well, I can just, why do that? It's kind of like sneaking around. I said, well, it's just called out of sight, out of mind. You can hunt that area, and then, as you deplete that area, you just move closer and closer toward the street, But, it just saves you being confronted, as much.
Mm-hmm.
I used to also go to this one area, after everybody had left. It was a big park near my house, and I found probably 3,000 or 4,000 coins there, and it was probably got 160 some silver coins out of that place, and
Wow.
Civil War bullets,
Yeah.
all kinds of other stuff. It's a World War II housing site, and but anyway,
Oh,
I would go after 5 o'clock at night, where after everybody left, and hunt where there was no activity around. Everybody left. People weren't playing soccer. They weren't, there just wasn't anybody around then.
Mm-hmm.
But,
Yeah. I was reading I'm sorry, Craig. I was reading the chat here and said Barb says, well, we'll say poop. I started. Hang on a second. Somebody else put something up there. Hang on. So I was just felt a pain between my fingers, and a tick latched on in between them. And she's like, "Arr!" And then the next thing she says, I gave him the flamethrower death. Kill it, Barb. Kill it. Make sure it feels it. I want to hear it scream. And then Bill Marsh puts on there, act fast, cut off your arm at the elbow, and before the infection spreads. It's a little extreme, dude. Barb, don't do that. Don't cut off your arm now. You got to be careful telling Barb this stuff. She is the one that stabbed herself in her foot with their own shovel.
Yeah,
I've almost done that too. I almost did that too the other day. Barb, you're not the only one. I almost got myself. But, I had my tennis shoes on, of all things. Usually I wear my boots and everything. But I almost did the same thing, slammed the shovel down, and it was right, it rubbed the edge of my boot, put it there, or my shoe. And I was like, oh, man, I would have to join Barb's club. She got herself with her shovel. You just stick it in the ground. But she got her foot one time. It's very painful. And that was with, I think, a Predator or something like that. One of those damn shovels that will take a toe off for sure.
Got the shark teeth on the end.
Yeah. Oh, Raven. No, it's a Raven she owns. The Raven shovel. Yeah, definitely will take a toe off, no problem. So, yeah, Craig, these some of these different sites, you're not going to find. I mean, you're going to find stuff by the road, but from my experience, it's always been so much modern stuff in the first 20 yards from the road in that.
Mm-hmm.
Unless
and more
you're
garbage, people throwing stuff out the window
right,
as they drive by, and
unless you're in some old town or something like in your that these were there way back when. But I mean, if you're in a park or something or a property or whatever, and you don't want to really be seen or be bothered, yeah, I mean that's right. I'd start at the back of the property too and work my way forward, just so. And another thing too, now that we're on this subject, when you get permission on a property, unless you know the people, obviously, and they know you've been around them a lot. I always try to carry a business card with me of some kind. On the back of it says I have permission to hunt, and leave it blank. The little line for the person's name and their phone number. And it sounds silly, but one guy might give you permission, and then he's not home. You come over to hunt. The next door neighbor gives you a whole bunch of crap about it. Even though you tell him I got permission, at least this is a little bit of proof. Here, call this guy. He owns a property. There's his phone number. And I've done that more often than not because I go onto some of these sites that, like the plantation property. We're talking, hundreds and hundreds of acres, and the guy that lives in a different town. So if I'm out there and all of a sudden, I don't know, somebody calls in and this, county patrol shows up or something like that, I want to have something. Hey, call Jerry. He gave me permission to hunt here. Here's his phone number, and that way you're just cutting it off at the, so there wouldn't be any problem. Nipping it in the bud. That's what my wife said. But I do that a lot. I mean, just to make sure you have their number, their name. That way you can verify, and that way okay, sir, have a nice day. I won't bother you anymore, type thing. So think about that, and especially on these some of these new sites you guys might be getting, especially in like where you're at, Craig. Like you've had it happen already. Oh yeah, you can hunt that if you want to, and the guy doesn't even own the property. So yeah, you go on there, the landowner comes by and wants to throw you in jail or something like that. You never know. So you got to make sure who you're talking to and if they own the property. That's for sure. I don't even trust family members doing that. Oh yeah, so and so won't care if you're hunting here. Yeah, right. As soon as you get on there, they'll have a fit about it. So you better talk to the landowner first. Have a night. Well, Barb says, "Oh, stop! I'm already having nightmares about the tick." Oh, jeez. Oh, I had one. Well, I think I told you guys I had one on me about a month ago, and it was in a spot where I couldn't really get to on my back, and I don't even know how it got on me. I was cutting, weed whipping and cutting branches. It seems like they're getting worse this year than they have been. Sand fleas too.
Just take some hogweed and rub it off.
Yeah, put that hogweed on you. That'll keep the bugs off you. Okay. We got a disclaimer. There'll be somebody out there try that. Don't do it. Sevens is saying that's why him and Jeff, they hunt the backwoods in Kentucky and Tennessee on private property with permission. Hallelujah, brother. You don't get bothered that way. I don't, even on the beach, I try to go at night a lot of times. And it's not that I don't want to talk to people, but it's in human nature. You see somebody with a metal detector, you're going to ask them, "Hey, what are you finding? Hey, what's the coolest thing you ever found?" This is what they do, and it's like I don't mind doing that once or twice, but sometimes they'll keep on talking, or kids too, and it's like I don't mind it for a few minutes, but I'm out there to, I want to go have fun, So I try to go out at night a lot of times, unless I'm doing a video or something like that. And then we try to hit a beach that's not so crowded. But yeah, I mean, you can get swarmed. If you go to Clearwater Beach and you'll see 5 or 6 metal detectors out there, there's something wrong, because every time I go out there, there's always a slew of them. And you got the guys that are really experienced and, out there in the water and, hardcore style doing all this stuff. And then you have the, kind of the newer people that are on vacation. I think there's even a place down there you can rent metal detectors, if I'm not mistaken, or there was. So yeah, you get, during the daytime, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's like the witching hour for metal detectors on a beach. You're going to get stopped by about every other person, it seems like. So I always try to go out at night there, but I don't really hunt any public property at all. I mean, we can't hunt parks down here at all, or state forest or anything, apparently. We're not allowed to do those either. I talked to, the Withlacoochee State Forest here, one of the rangers. He says, actually, you can't take a metal detector in there. They don't allow it. So I don't know, in the book, Mark was telling me that it says, as far as hunting for Indian artifacts, you're not allowed to do that at all, which I know, and that's the way it is, and that's okay. But he was saying that they don't, as long as you're not looking for Indian artifacts, there might be a loophole there. But as far as this ranger was going, he was pretty high up. He said, no, we just don't allow them on there. That's what the state said. So, the state forests are out of touch for us as far as, that goes for right now anyway. I really don't know. I mean, there's a lot of old, what really kind of sucks is because I've had people tell me, well, we found an old house site in this forest or that forest. I don't know. They're probably early 1800s anyways, but it's not Indian stuff or anything like that. It'd be nice to be able to go in there and at least, kind of find the stuff for them and mark it out, and maybe find something historical that they can kind of trace it back and see who owned it or whatever, and go from there. be like a historical kind of thing on that property, but you can't even do that. They're real funny about it. And in some estates, Craig, you can go like where Brandon is. You pretty much anywhere you can walk, you can go and go hunt.
Yeah.
That must be nice to make a day of it or 2 days. I mean, I don't know. He packs enough stuff for 3 days or something like that in case something happens, but he'll go 2 or 3 miles back into the woods looking for cellar holes and that kind of thing. And he does pretty good over there too. I haven't seen him on. I think, well, maybe he was on last show. I usually see Brandon Stewart on here. He might be working though. But yeah, every state's different. I mean, like West Virginia, I've always you can't hunt any state-owned property at all. You only can hunt private property, and I don't know if that's still the same or not. But there's a lot of places to hunt. You just whether we can get permission to hunt them or not. That's why I don't think anything's going to be totally hunted out, even Civil War stuff. As time goes on and properties change hands and that whole rigmarole. Somebody wouldn't let you on their property at all for 20 years, and then they sell it and somebody else buys it, and they might let you right back on there. So I think there's going to be still a lot more sites coming open where we can find some, Civil War stuff, and maybe not as plentiful. I mean, Craig, you went through the heyday of that, I think. Craig always told me if you didn't find 150 bullets in one day, you weren't much of a hunter. That's Craig. When did you start? In 1918? What?
Eight.
That was just wrong.
1886.
1886 is when Craig started metal detecting. But yeah, I mean, I remember stories. I talked to several of these old timers, man, and they find 10 or 20 plates in one day. Well, you've done that,
Yeah.
Greg. You found plates like that, or know people that have found just a bunch of them. And they're not that deep.
We used to go down to Stafford, and there was this fire station there, and the guys would let you park there, and we pulled up there one time and said something about it's okay to relic hunt in the woods here and park here, and they said, yeah, we've had hundreds of people, and they said people aren't coming back much anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And went back there the third day back in there. I dug a Georgia coat button right by the trail.
Oh, jeez.
But and then it was funny. Years later, we kind of gave up on the spot, and I told Mike and Steve, they wanted a place to hunt, and I said, "Hey, just go back there and ask the firemen. They'll let you hunt. Let you park there and hunt."
Mm-hmm.
And it's all a big housing development now, but it's just miles of woods back there. And so anyway, they walked up on this one hill, and Steve dug a Georgia button on one side, and Mike dug a Virginia on the other side.
Awesome.
And I was like, what?
That is awesome.
I started going back up there, and so there was like this. I asked a friend about the area, and he said they had hunted a farm right across the street from the fire department, and they'd found like Jasper green buttons and all kinds of like rare South Carolinas and North Carolinas, and so the guys said that they said they found a couple. What was it? It was a military academy Georgia button or North Carolina button. Anyway, I got on the opposite hill. There was a steep hill on the other side, and it was almost straight up and down. And I started like rappelling down the side hunting, and I got on this one little flat area, and it was about maybe 5 feet wide and about 20 feet long. And I found a bullet, and I found one of those. It was the Hillsborough Academy North Carolina button.
Oh, okay.
Kind of rare.
Yeah.
And I found that right on the side of the hill there. But nothing else. Nobody else found a thing. It was weird.
Yeah, they hit it hard. Probably deeper stuff there, but you got to get to it. That's another thing too with the technology, the way it's increasing every year or two. These depths that we're getting as the detectors get better, as they can get deeper and better target separation, all that kind of stuff. I still think there's stuff there. If you found, yeah, it's going to have a limit on the depth, but especially with farm fields, when they chisel plow in Ohio, my gosh, they at least where Tim Glick was, I mean, they were going down 2 foot. That's just stirring that field up every year. Just plow it and whether I like bean fields myself, I figured out I hate cornfields, but the bean fields aren't bad at all when they get done harvesting and everything's pretty low. But yeah, they chisel plow. They're bringing up all kinds of stuff, and every year it's kind of replenished, I would think. Too bad they don't do that at that park, Craig.
Yeah.
Plow up the park and get better hunting area.
Well, that's like when they bowl down these woods, with where the relics had been, where pretty much you couldn't get a signal anymore, and they knock down, they take 6 inches or a foot, and all of a sudden you'd be finding stuff all over the place. It's amazing how, like, on the sides of the hills, how deep stuff is. We got on some of these sides of these hills, and they cut down 4 feet deep, and then you hit all this layer of flat buttons just everywhere, and they're in the clay even.
Right.
And you go, God, the stuff is down, like 4 feet deep in the ground. And most of the stuff is, 6 or 8 inches down to maybe a foot or so.
Yeah.
Depending on the soil, like we hunted in Stafford, was kind of Fredericksburg area. That was all real sandy. All on the river was all sandy.
Right.
The stuff would be, go down a fairly good depth, but.
Yeah, well, I wanted to say this too, Craig. I got an email today. Guy's using a V5 bliss tool, and he was in somewhere around Culpeper or somewhere in that area, whatever, the harsh ground, real hot ground. And he goes, I don't know, I can't get a dime deeper than 10 inches. I'm like, and I'm thinking of this, I did tell him, I was like, mineralized ground, you are not going to be able to pound out the depth every time on mineralized ground. I've dug Sharps bullets at 10, 11, 12 inches down in Culpeper, but you're also listening for very, I call them whisper signals on some of this stuff, like buttons and stuff. I mean, I've hunted Culpeper. It's a tough place to hunt. You can find stuff there with the bliss tool. It'll work in that ground because I've done it myself. As a matter of fact, the V3 will even do it. But you can't expect to get on any metal detector the same depth you would get in moderate or low mineralized ground. It's, the detector's fighting all that mineralization to get through it. So, you can't expect to be able to do that every time, a dime-sized target at 12, 13 inches like you would in normal ground. And I think he listens to the show and everything. And it's not, it's just, some of the detectors, like, the V6s, I have the turbo modes and the iron ore mode and stuff. I can make the machine a little bit more sensitive, but not really harsh. They had a test ground at the DIV one year, and I hit it with the V3, the V5. V6 wasn't out yet at the time, I don't think. But at any rate, I hit it with both those detectors. I hit every target they had buried in that test garden with no problem before the hunt. So, and I was using, I think, the 11-inch coil and the 15-inch coil. The biggest thing I thought of was people that were finding stuff when you're at one of those kind of hunts. If you start seeing dig holes, be sure to go by them again and go over them or beside them. A lot of people, and I have the same habit, where you dig the hole and you get your target out, and when you fill the hole in, then you pick up your detector and you take a step forward or two, just in getting your stuff, getting yourself back ready to start detecting again, and then you walk on from there. And I have to constantly remind myself to stop, back up to just before the hole, and start up metal detecting again, because I'm missing that 2 or 3 foot, and there very well could be another button or whatever, another item in that certain area too. But I guess anyways, he was trying to, he was planting or whatever, making a test garden, and he was having a hard time. I said, well, you're dealing with, it's not just mineralized, it's like purple ground there. You've seen some of that soil in Culpeper is pretty vicious. But you can do it. You're just not going to get as good as depths.
I've dug some pretty good stuff out of other people's dig holes that they left wide open.
Oh yeah, you got a breastplate out of one. That was funny.
I got another one time. My friend took him to this kind of a it was probably around that 1830 site, and I found a couple large scents there, and I took my friend up there, well, two of my friends up there, and one guy had a Bandito.
Yeah.
I think maybe both of them did. No, the other guy had a Nautilus, I believe. No, he had a Bandito also.
Right.
And so anyway, first, I think it was first half hour, the one guy found two 1820 large scents.
Jeez.
And my other friend says, hey, I'd tuned the guy's machine up. He didn't have a ground balance right, and he hadn't found anything good in a month. And I said, here, let me check your machine. And I said, man, this thing is all the way off on the ground balance, you know.
Right,
no wonder.
right.
So the other guy, you know, he finds two large scents right off the bat, and the other guy goes, quit tuning up people's machines. You know?
Don't help them. Don't help them. No.
But anyway, a little while later, it was a couple hours later, the other guy starts screaming. He finds 8 large scents from probably the mid to late 1820s in one hole.
Right.
And I got I think I had one flat button at the time, and they're digging all this stuff, and I can't find anything. And so it was getting toward dark, and so they said they were going to leave, and I said, well, I'm going to hunt for another hour.
Right.
I'm going to find something. And I was just getting ready to leave. I think I found one more flat button, and I was getting ready to leave. And I said, you know what? I'll check that hole where he dug those 8 large scents. So I go over there, and I get this super soft little tiny signal. And I was using a Nautilus, and I dug down probably about 8 inches maybe, and it was a 1777 half real.
You're a lucky dog, man. Craig has more reals, man. He hits cut halves and quarters, and 1682 Cobb real you found, and oh god, I have never dug.
Yeah.
I dug that one. I think it's a 4 real, but it's so beat that you can't even make out anything on it. So I mean, I'm giving it a good guess, anyways. But yeah, Craig is tore up the reals.
Once I started finding, I found a seat at Liberty Time, and it kind of changed everything. I decided, I didn't want to just coin hunt yards and parks anymore, and I wanted to find older stuff. So I thought, I got to go where, there was older stuff. So I knew some people who knew where some Civil War camps were, and there was a lot in Alexandria. And so we went down to this one camp, and we started finding colonial flat buttons. I found one British Navy up at the top of this hill, and I thought, man, this is old. Had the fouled anchor on it. And so I came down the hill, and I got Eagle button. And I came to this area, and it was like a little square flat area on the top of this hill. And I thought, man, that looks like a good area for a little house or something. And so I get in there, and there was bricks all over the place. And I looked, and there was two open dig holes, but they looked like they were old. And the dirt was just black. It looked like it was burned. And I got a signal right between them, the 2 dig holes, and it was loud. And I thought, man, it's probably junk,
Yeah.
Dig down 2 inches, and it's a 2-bit cut from an 8 real.
Jeez.
Pillar and wave. First one I ever found. And it was in mint condition. And it had this black dirt on it, and I see this little square, little pie-shaped thing, and I'm like, what the hell is that? And I just wiped it with my thumb, and it just was, silver, and I was like, oh my God, it's pirate treasure, I never in my wildest dreams ever thought I'd find something like that. After that, I said, anything's possible.
Oh, yeah.
You just don't know. I mean, I used to see these treasure magazines, and I used to wonder, are these guys really finding that stuff or not? Some of it looked like it was a little bit too hard to believe, but I realized that, no, it's true. You can find stuff like that,
Well, I mean, it's Craig. I hunted in Bulgaria when I went over there, and this Roman site that I went to, Med took me to. It's been hit by everybody and their brother over there. I mean, it's obviously, it's a good site, but it's been hit for like 20 years. And I go in there and, I found the typical, the metal plates they put on their sandals, that kind of thing. I call it, 1800-year-old iron. I'll keep it. It's a relic, But, and I turn around and find that Goddess of Goodness coin and Constantine II, and then his this other guy I was hunting with over there. He found a coin spill, like 8 coins, out in the middle of this like a small field, probably a farmer's field or whatever, where they used to grow stuff or whatever. But even Ahmed said, the oldest coin he ever found there was about 3,000 years old, and mine was about 2,600. But he found it years ago. I mean, and nobody really finds anything there anymore. And I said, well, it's just I'm listening for. I don't know, American relic hunters and people like in the UK too, they're used to listening for those real faint, soft, it's a dig me signal. You just know it, it just sounds that way. You got to dig it. You got to see what it is, what's breaking the threshold. It just, if you have your iron discrimination on too, well, at least with the bliss tool, I mean, it's going to cut it out. It's not going to be there. So if you're getting any kind of signal at all and it's deep like that, it's probably going to be something good. So, that's the way I've always hunted, methodical, especially when someplace has been beat to death, it's just, now you're going in there with a different kind of detector. You got to pay attention to the weak signals, but as long as they're repeatable, that's pretty much all that matters,
I stopped using the meter as, a tool. I just started listening, and
sounds.
I would dig, I'd dig more iron than everybody, but I'd also dig more good stuff than they were digging.
That's right.
Because a lot of this stuff is at the very margin of hearing it, and it doesn't sound good sometimes. It'll be like a repeatable scratch.
Right.
And, it's, I did that with the Nautilus. I did it with the Tesoros, the Blitz tool. I can get these, that
Squeak.
one I can basically tell the signal is good because it's, with the iron discriminator, but it increases your finds, I think, by, the good finds.
Right.
You watch the Hoover boys and some of these,
stealth
real
diggers,
successful guys.
Yeah.
They dig everything. They don't leave anything in the ground. And they got like the Hoover boys will show this big pile of junk they dug, between 4 guys. I mean, it's a huge pile of beer cans and all kinds of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
So it's not, and then they got, some days they find, 16 large cents between them or even more sometimes, but they find some really cool stuff, but it's hard work. It's not easy.
No.
You got to, you don't know, one of those beer can signals might be a belt buckle. They find, random belt buckles in the middle of Maryland,
Mm-hmm.
In these farm fields and stuff. And they even found a hammered silver coin that read like foil.
Yeah.
I
wonder why.
It's like from the 1500s, and, you go, wow, you don't know what's possible. I found cufflinks from King Charles II, which he was king from 1660 to 1685.
Mm-hmm.
So, somebody dropped it, and a friend of mine was telling me, some archaeologists at George Washington Plantation about it. They didn't believe it. They said, there's no way that could happen, and I didn't know what the buttons, it was it's 2 buttons, but it was the cufflink, I could tell. And it had a weird alloy. It was lead and brass alloy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I got I had an Explorer in Tone ID, and I got a grunt on it, it was a real, very low discriminant signal.
Mm-hmm.
Just a tiny little grunt. And so I saw this thing, and it looked like it had 2 hearts at the bottom, and it had it looked like a royal crown at the top. And I thought, man, that looks royal, And so I put a picture on a couple sites on the internet, and a couple of English sites, and it said this woman sent me a message that it was a King Charles the second cufflink, and that was a really good find.
Right.
And she thought I was in England. And I said, well, actually, I'm in Northern Virginia,
Yeah.
And she goes, well, you got to be kidding me, that's amazing, you know. And I said, yeah, I mean, now I'm finding out it's, you know, from probably was dropped pre 1700.
Right.
But there was a house, you know, one of the richest guys in America lived at this particular site. So this guy was making $20,000 a year in silver at one time in the 1740s and 50s.
Yeah.
So
Crazy.
it was amazing. He had he was into pig iron, and they would go across the river into Maryland, up Mattawoman Creek, and get all this iron ore, and then they bring it over, and they had all these blast furnaces, and they were right along 95. And the one side where all the blast furnaces were has all been developed. They just tore everything up, but
right.
it was as steep as hills you've ever seen. I mean, it was, oh my God, it was like it'd about kill you when you were walking out of the woods at the end of the day. It was so steep. There was this colonial road beds that were like 6 feet high on the sides, and
well, it's about like the places you take me, Craig. You take me to stuff like that. The trenches, the Breastplate Hill, the down into the ravine, and everything else.
I found three 2 reals one time. They cut a road down through this one little valley, and I was taking this friend of mine to see the Star Fort, and it was a Union fort. It had actually been Confederate, and then the Yankees had taken it over. And years later, they bulldozed the whole thing down, and put a construction site in, and they weren't supposed to. And the guy said that they didn't know that they didn't see a fort anywhere. If you were walking down the path, you would have done a double take. It was so obvious.
Yeah,
I mean, it even had a moat around it, and then there was a big artillery gun emplacement about maybe 100 yards away. But
was he blind? I mean, come on now, you're blind, dude.
Yeah, they were greedy. They wanted the money. They got fined big time too, and he had to give up a whole bunch of land for a park and
good
put all these stuff in. But anyway, my friend was going, how come there's I've done 3 2 reals in a row in this, and they were all 1 inch deep under. They bulldozed over top of them, but
right.
They were still down in the hard pack, but they were only 1 inch deep when I dug them up.
Awesome.
And never found much else there. But I said there's a colonial house site here, but it's so old that you don't know where it exactly was. It's just the terrain is just so steep and everything. You wonder how these people, but they were near the river.
Yeah.
But there was these old tobacco roads. Some of them were, 12, 14 feet deep, where the wagons had, gone down these hills to the river to deliver tobacco.
Right.
For probably close to 80 years or so. And it was amazing. It just, you walk it through the middle of the woods, and all of a sudden you just see these huge roads going through down to the river.
Yeah.
Nothing else around for miles.
That's like that Roman site I was hunting, man. It's steep. They built their houses on the side of the mountain, really, or a big hill anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, you tripped, and I'm thinking to myself, man, if they ever trip back then, they're going to break every bone in their body tumbling down to the next house. It was pretty extreme. Even getting in there, I think it was 10 kilometers took us. I think it was 2 hours in a 4-wheel drive to get to the place, and we're talking boulders on in the roadway going around those and everything. It wasn't like a road. It was more or less a cow path, but they had actually a Roman bridge right there that was built during Roman times, and something else as you were coming up to it. Well, actually, it was probably about 3 kilometers probably from the hunt site, where we were going to hunt at. Just getting in there, I don't know. It'd be really tough living there. They had to be tough, to live in those kind of constant conditions. It seemed like, but everywhere you looked, I mean, you could see all the way across. Nothing. Everywhere was just piles of rocks where the houses used to be or their homes, but no modern stuff at all. No cars other than ours. There was nobody else out there for miles, and it was really kind of cool in a way. I could have camped out there for 2 months, wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah,
Put a coil.
Yeah.
I could have been in a heyday right there. But yeah, I'm probably going to have to wrap up the show, Craig, a little bit for tonight. We're at almost 10 o'clock now. I think it is, anyways. Yeah, I got about 5
Time
till 10.
flies, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, and I got to get some sleep because man, I'm going to be having some fun tomorrow. I wish I could bring more people, but I don't know. I might be able to hunt this piece of property for quite a while. The guys, I was thinking, oh man, if there's a lot of stuff here, maybe I can have some friends over. But this guy's so kind of very private person. He doesn't like anybody around really. I was surprised he actually gave me permission. So I've been wanting to hunt this property for God as long as I can remember. I knew it was in Pauline's family and stuff like that, way back. But yeah, I'm going to hit that at 7 a.m. I'll be sitting at that gate wanting to get in there, and hopefully, he said he had to go somewhere at 8 o'clock, but he's not going to be back until about 2, so I know I'm good until 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. I'm going to bring the water with me for sure, but I'm going to be hunting in the woods or tree-covered areas, so it won't be too bad. But hopefully I can put something up tomorrow, or at least make a post about something. I've had to... I find stuff, but it just, it just hasn't been old stuff, Craig, like I was finding, a year or so ago. Just finding, it was just,
You're due to have a good day.
I'm due to have a killer day. I mean, eventually, sometime. I mean, I haven't even found a gold ring in over a year, and I've been at the beach, and I find everything else: silver rings, find other jewelry, no gold rings, But the beaches I hunt they get pounded so good that I got to find a cut is what it is, and chances are somebody probably already found it or whatever. I look for the sinkers and stuff. If I start finding sinkers, that's usually a good sign I'm in a good cut. Get some gold out of it. But yeah, I figure I'm kind of due up to finding at least one good find. That's all I'm shooting for. One good find, a nice large scent would be nice. But we'll see how it all pans out. But yeah, Craig, I'll probably give you a call tomorrow or tomorrow or something, let you know. But I'll put it up on Facebook if I find anything. But we'll wrap it up for the night. And thanks for listening, guys. Be sure to check out the other shows on Spreaker.com. Several metal detecting shows on there. Everybody runs a different format, and they're all really good. So you'll enjoy them. We're on every Thursday and Saturday night at 8 p.m. And we have the Facebook pages up and everything. Our YouTube channels, and Craig Talley and Derek Asklar. A lot of mine, I don't have my videos up right now. I have a lot of the other shows and stuff on there. But Craig still, has his going and everything. So you can see a lot of stuff about the Bliss Tool, the Deus, and whatever else you have, Craig. I don't even know how many more videos you have. You have like 200 and some anyways. So
I got about 300, I think.
Yeah, something. You got a lot of them. I got, oh man, I can't remember what it was now. There was somebody... Craig, did I send it on to you? There was somebody that's into metal detecting, the hobby, and they were needing subscribers for something. Did I send that to you? I was going to mention it on the show tonight. Yeah, I'll have to remember for Thursday night show. They were looking for more subscribers on YouTube. They're regular guys like us, and I'm going to try to find that. But yeah, guys, subscribe to their channels, the metal detecting. If you like the video and everything, subscribe to their channels and like their videos. They got that whole thing. If they want to monetize or anything else, you have to have like over 1,000 subscribers or something and so many hours. So be supportive, and if there's videos you guys like, make sure you...
I got 928 right now, and I like to get to 1,000. But over the years, I've, anybody that subscribes to me, I automatically subscribe to them. So, it's kind of a nice etiquette thing to do to people, and everybody wants subscribers and stuff. So...
You're doing pretty good, brother. You passed me up. For a while now, I haven't had the time to mess with it a lot, but I mean, still, you surpassed me by about 300, so that's good. And let's get Craig over 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. Tell your friends. He only needs 20 some odd more, or 75 more. That's not a lot. We can get that in 1 week for you, Craig. Then you could be viral, buddy. You'd be big time like everybody else.
I think I got close to 100 in the last year,
Mm-hmm.
but I've been doing it since I got an account in I think May of 2011 was when I started YouTube.
I can't even remember when I started. Yeah, I think mine was just after that. I was doing some with White's, my White's machine. I think it may have been early 2012, probably. And then I got the Bliss Tool in June, July, whatever it was. And that started off a whole different adventure. So, at any rate, we're going to get off here, guys. I'll talk all night long, and so will Craig. So, thanks for listening. And we'll talk to you on Thursday night. And if you get a chance to get out there, have some fun, and God bless. We'll talk to you next on Thursday night. Catch you later.